Okay, okay. The I'm Catherine. This is for the chapter two, which you missed all of, and I'll go through. I think it'll probably be three separate uh, entries: Catherine one, Catherine two, and Catherine three. Because it goes about 10 minutes, and then it doesn't matter. We'll just see how far we go on this. Okay. Obviously, you can't talk about personality until you talk about Freud. He was the first one to have a complete personality theory. Please read his life experiences because they really affect his theory, i.e., his strong relationship with his mother when you talk about the Oedipal complex. He had a very stern father who was very authoritarian and older. Um, he was Jewish, which back then they were discriminated against, and basically you could either be a banker or a doctor, and so that kind of pushed him in that direction. Um, he studied hypnosis under Charcot, uh, and he used it until he decided that it wasn't that effective. He turned to free association, which we'll talk about in a minute. Um, he had sexual issues, and he talked to his first 24 clients were all 23 were females, and they had sexual issues because back then you married for convenience, not for love. So probably the sex isn't very good. So if you have sexual concerns and all the people you talk to, you assume everybody does. But if you take the sex out of the theory, it's not as exciting, but it still holds water. Um, World War I played a major part in his theory because he couldn't believe man's humanity against man. Oh, little did he know. And so, hence, you have Thanatos and Eros, a love wish and death wish. Um, and also, his cocaine addiction uh, made him isolated from the medical community in Vienna. He actually was promoting it for use, um, but he had cancer of the jaw. So some people said he smoked cocaine to kill the pain of the terrible pain of the cancer. Um, Freud credits Joseph Breuer with his theory of free association. He actually Skinner, uh, actually Freud says that he's not the father of psychoanalytic, but Brunner is, Brewer is, and that's here nor there. Um, and uh, Again, they start out using hypnosis, and uh, it was somewhat effective, but Mesmer messed that up. And so they went to free association. Now, Freud believes the medical model because he was a doctor. And the medical model states that you can't deal with something until you're aware of what it is. So, according to Freud, all your issues are in the unconscious. You got to get them out so you can deal with them. One of the ways he did that was free association, and you've done free association of the classes, so that you understand what those are. Um, it's like the police. Police have people who break the law, just talk, and talk. Pretty soon they hang themselves. The same way with your client. Um, Freud believed there was a purpose for every behavior, but we don't know what that purpose is, and our job is trying to find as a therapist is trying to find that. There are multiple causes. You just might have one cause something. Um, and so you have a cause, which is action or force, and then you have a motive, which is the unconscious, what the unconscious wants. Um, Also, dream interpretation played a big part in Freud's theory. We took a little inventory on dream interpretation. And remember, dream interpretation is broken in two parts: manifest and latent. Manifest is the action of the dream, and that's nothing. We need to get rid of that. The latent is the meaning of the dream, but we get hung up on, it's like an action movie. We get hung up on the action and not the plot. Well, most action movies don't have a plot, but you know what I'm talking about. So, if we're getting chased through the woods, we're hung up on being chased in the woods, not why we're being chased or who's chasing us or whatever the case may be. Excuse me. Human behavior is determined by three things. Again, you've had this 100 times. The id, superego, and ego. The id being totally unconscious. It's driven by the pleasure principle. Pleasure principle. Seek pleasure, avoid pain. It's basically biologically driven. And it's a little devil that says, I wanna, I wanna, I wanna. Then we have the superego, which takes the longest to develop, and that's your conscience, that's your guilt. That's religion, society laws, family laws, and that's like a little angel on your shoulder saying, no, 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 no. So you have the id going, yes, 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 and you have the superego going, no, no, no. So then you go to the ego being written by the reality principle, which means it takes in the environment and other things. And the ego votes with, it's like a Supreme Court, votes with the id, and then you do it, or it votes with superego, and you don't do it. And this is 24/7. There's this constant conflict in life. Now, one of the things that most people forget is libido. I think that's on your word list. Is the sexual energy that runs your personality. You got to have energy to run this thing. And so that's the libido. This is where the sexual part is. We can take this out and still the id, superego, and ego, we have people that accept that without the libido. Okay. Now, there's a question on source, impetus, aim, and object. Source, impetus, aim, and object. Source is a need. I am hungry, right? Impetus is intensity. How hungry are you? Aim is the purpose of your behavior. To find food, right? And then the object is food. What will satisfy that need? And on the test, I'm going to ask you to give me example: source, impetus, aim, and object. Okay. Now, according to Freud, really believes in the past. He said, but your basic personality was developed by 5, so we had the 5 stages, 5 psychosexual stages of Freud. Again, you've had this before, but I'll go through them quickly. We have the oral stage where you get pleasure from the mouth, biting, sucking, eating, blah, blah, blah. And basically, and I'm just picking out one event in the oral stage, and that's breastfeeding. And either you're on the breast too long or you're on the breast taken off too early. And so, for example, if you're oral fixated, your personality, you overeat, you drink out of a bottle, you smoke, you bite your nails, you like kissing. For a male, you're breast conscious. So those are traits that are fixated. If you're weaned too early, you tend to be sadistic, oral abusive, mistrusting of people, and he never says when early is. If it's on too late, you're passive, you want lots of attention, and you're dependent. Now that's just some of the traits, but you get the idea. The next stage is the anal stage, and that it's not the idea you get pleasure for going to the bathroom. It's the idea you get pleasure for controlling your environment. And we center on toilet training. Oh my God, Freud said Americans were obsessed with toilet training, and we are. So what happens is you have 2 types of people. Anal retentive are those little kids that hold it for a long time. I mean, you put them in the potty and then you watch them and you turn the water on and you promise them a pony, and they won't go to the bathroom until they decide to go. or you have the anal expulsive, and these are the people that you just let it go. And so the parents are now, cleaning your little bottom, putting powder on, putting new diaper on. So you are finally, after all year and a half, finally starting to control your environment. Okay. So people that are anal retentive tend to be neat, cheap, orderly, stubborn, controlling. People that are anal expressive tend to be creative, messy, generous, rebellious. And again, these are just some of the traits that get fixated. I will stop here and put this up on YouTube, and then I'll do number 2 and 3 before I leave today. All right.